Some stories are just timeless. They get told over and over again, and today we're diving into one of the big ones. It's this incredible narrative about what it means to have unshakable faith, even when the rest of the world thinks you're completely out of your mind.
And that question right there is really the heart of it all. What does it actually take to hold on to what you believe is true when everyone, and I mean everyone, is telling you you're wrong and just mocking you for it? It's a journey into feeling alone, having that crazy faith, and then seeing it all pay off in the most dramatic way possible.
So to really get a handle on this story, we first have to paint a picture of the world at the time. We need to understand what was going on that made such a dramatic event necessary in the first place. It was a world that had kind of lost its way.
So picture this. Humanity is growing, spreading across the earth, but a split starts to happen. You've got one group of people who are trying to live with a sense of purpose, a sense of right and wrong, and then you've got another group that's just doing whatever they feel like, whenever they feel like it. A real divide was opening up.
And this wasn't just a problem between people. This was something bigger. The whole situation was just deeply disappointing to the Creator. It was a sign that something had to give, that a major correction was on the horizon.
So into this broken world comes one person, a messenger who is given a mission that sounds, well, pretty much impossible, to try and call everyone back from the edge.
So who was this guy, Nuh? Well, the story describes him in a really simple but powerful way. He was a good man. And it was that fundamental goodness, that solid moral foundation, that made him the one person who could handle the insane test that was coming.
And his mission? Man, it was blunt. No sugarcoating it. He had to go to his own community, his own people, and tell them straight up that the way they were living, it was wrong. Not an easy conversation to have.
So how did that go over? Well, about as well as you'd expect. They just completely blew him off. They wouldn't listen. In fact, they doubled down and just kept doing what they were doing. Which brings up a huge point, right? How can you save people who don't even think they need saving?
Okay, so talking clearly wasn't cutting it. The plan had to change. The message of faith was now going to be built. Literally, a giant physical monument that nobody could possibly miss.
And this is the moment everything pivots. A judgment is made, and Noah gets his new instructions. Build a massive boat, a great ark. You have to imagine how absolutely wild that must have sounded to everyone else.
And think about this job. It was a huge construction project for sure, finding the right wood, all that physical labor, but it was also a massive test of his spirit. Can you imagine building this thing day after day while people just walk by laughing at you?
I mean, he was surrounded by mockery. People just thought he was nuts. But he was so focused. He wasn't listening to them. He was listening to that divine command. His faith was like this force field against all that negativity.
So, once the ark was finally built, it was time for the final steps. And this wasn't just about getting away. This was a full-on preservation mission. Gather the few who listened, stock up with enough food for a long, long time, and protect the future of all life.
And that detail, 2 of every animal, is so specific, isn't it? It just shows that the ark wasn't just a lifeboat for humans. It was this floating sanctuary, a genetic archive designed to reboot the entire planet. All right, the warnings had been given. The ark was ready. The faithful were on board. And just like that, the sound of laughter was about to be replaced by the sound of thunder.
And it didn't just happen in a flash. It was this slow, creeping dread. First, the sky just turns dark and ominous. Then, a few drops of rain. Then it gets heavier and heavier, until there's just water everywhere. The world they knew was literally disappearing.
The difference is just night and day. Inside that ark, you have total safety. You are dry, you are secure. The reward for your faith is real and tangible. But outside, just chaos, fear, and the brutal consequences of ignoring the warnings.
And this line? Wow, it says everything. All that arrogance, all that laughter, it just vanished. It was replaced by pure, terrifying fear as they finally realized what was happening.
But after all that destruction, something new can begin. Once the storm finally passed and the water started to go down, what was left was a clean slate, a world ready for a fresh start.
After all the noise, the chaos, the terror, it all boiled down to this one simple fact. The people who had kept the faith were safe. The very thing everyone laughed at, the ark, ended up being the only thing that mattered. They were the ones left to build a new world.
And that's what this story leaves us with, right? It's not just about a literal flood. It's about the floods in our own lives, the times we're hit with doubt or ridicule or hardship. It makes you ask yourself, when my storm is over, what's left? What are the core beliefs that I'm going to rebuild my world on?